I just ate some chicken wings. Hello, welcome back. Sorry, I have a condition. This is a holiday special, a Thanksgiving special, because the holiday season is right around the corner. During this time, families are going to be getting together, which is happy and awesome. There are some families, however, who are ill-acquainted with the idea of personal boundaries and do not understand that badgering you into sharing the intimate details of your life can be unproductive, unpleasant, not very fun. In particular, for us older singles, one question from well-intentioned or maybe bad-intentioned relatives makes an unwelcome appearance each holiday season. When are you getting married? This question comes in many forms, including but not limited to, why aren't you dating? Where's your boyfriend or girlfriend? Are you going on dates? Are you trying to meet people? Are you trying to be attractive? Do you like boys? I've put together a list of tips to fend off these unwanted and unpleasant interrogations. Full disclosure, my family is pretty easygoing and this isn't really a problem for me. Make sure that you stay tuned until the end to find out what my favorite and best tip is. Tip number 1, lie. Lying is the best way to not tell someone the truth. Here are some of my handcrafted lies that you can use this Thanksgiving to keep your family and friends from pestering you about your relationship status. The first one, I am married. If someone asks you who you're dating and you don't want to answer them, simply tell them that you're married. This may generate a small amount of confusion, but it's hard to ask someone who's married who they're dating. This is because it is bad to date people when you're married and is largely looked down upon by our society. In doing so, your relative would be encouraging adultery or unfaithfulness. If your relative wants to know more about your marriage, simply tell them that you're getting divorced soon and you would rather not discuss it. Other options for lies include, I have a terminal illness. Revealing to your relative that you are on the cusp of dying is a great way to change the topic. If they ask for details such as, when are you dying? What disease do you have? Do you have any proof? Start crying or screaming, and their belligerent questioning will come to an abrupt halt. Alternatively, you could print out some tests from the internet and have those ready to go so that you could present them at the dinner party to your relative, and that will probably work just fine. Tip number 2, refuse to answer. Another great way to deflect questions about your personal dating life is to not respond. If your Aunt Susan wants to know when you're going to settle down and get married, simply say nothing. For the first few moments, this will feel extremely awkward because it is not socially acceptable to not answer someone when they ask you a question. Your aunt will most likely ask if you did not hear her, then she will proceed to repeat the question. At that time, it will be best to not acknowledge your aunt's presence at all. She will grow tired of trying to get your attention, and also she will probably feel a little weird and she'll leave you alone. By refusing to make any indication that you have heard or understood your aunt's question, this will send a powerful message that it is none of her freaking business. Tip number 3, leave the dinner. If you are bombarded with an unrelenting cacophony of questions about your relationship status, don't forget that leaving is a great option. Simply find a door that leads to the outside and go through it. Then, don't go back inside. This way, your family will not be able to ask you any more questions at all. In particular, they will not be able to ask you any more questions about your dating life. This is one that I might try out this year. Just kidding. My family's gotten to a point where they don't ask me anymore because they know that there's nothing to share at all. So that's the point I've gotten to. And you can have faith that if you continue to not date anyone ever, your family will eventually stop asking you who you're dating because they know the answer. So, tip number 4, ask the offending relative offensive questions. The best defense is a good offense. I can't think of a more applicable situation than this one. If your family begins to ask you questions you don't like, fire back at them with questions that are even more uncomfortable. Don't forget, the more personal the better. For example, you could start with, why did your husband leave you? Why don't you stop your son Timmy from smoking so much weed? Why do you have a codependent relationship with your oldest daughter? The great part about this is that the insults don't even have to be true. They just have to be insulting. Feel free to try something like this on for size. Why are you gaining so much weight? Even if the recipient has not gained any weight at all, they are sure to be highly offended and will verbally attack you or retreat from the conversation. Other potentially untrue insults that you could try out would be, how come you got fired from your job for sexual harassment? Why am I hearing recently that you have a second family and seeing you tagged in pictures with them on Facebook? These one-liners are sure to stir up some drama and will move the spotlight from you to your meddling relative. Tip number 5, create a diversion. A diversion can be caused pretty easily, either by throwing a punch, lunch, or by throwing some food. If Uncle Bill asks why you're not into anybody, try grabbing your nearest cousin and putting them through a credenza. This will undoubtedly move the conversation from your love life to your sudden outburst of domestic violence. Alternatively, you could try turning over the dinner table. Another great way to create a diversion is to fill a plastic bag with some ketchup or some red food dye, mix it with a little bit of water, place it under your shirt, and then when you're asked a question that you don't like, all you have to do is pop the bag and release the liquid. It will look like you're bleeding, and then your relatives will forget about your love life and be more concerned with the fact that you've started to bleed for no apparent reason. Hopefully they don't taste it, because then they'll realize that it's not blood. Unless your family are vampires, that shouldn't be a problem. Tip number 6, pretend to fall asleep. This one's very easy and self-explanatory. If you just will close your eyes and start snoring for good effect, your family member will think that you've fallen asleep. You don't have to fall over anything, just stand there and snore, and your family member will be probably offended that they're so boring to talk to that you have fallen asleep, but they will most likely leave you alone because you're sleeping, and it's not very engaging to have a conversation with someone who is asleep. Take it out for a spin and see if it will work for you. And last but not least, my favorite method of deflection is to use the phrase, "Okay, boomer." The phrase, "an agent of chaos," won't make any sense, but if you keep repeating it, no matter what your relatives say to you, they will get bored and angry, and they will stop talking to you. Don't be afraid to give that one a whirl and see if it works for you. Well, those are my tips for getting out of uncomfortable conversations this Thanksgiving. In the spirit of Thanksgiving, I would like to say that I'm grateful for this video, and I'm grateful for my 172 subscribers. Thanks guys for subscribing and watching my videos. Please like and subscribe. That helps me to get more famous. And make sure to let me know which tip you'll be using this Thanksgiving. Adios.
Merry Christmas!